welcome to another episode of Balls and Brew, the flagship sports podcast of the Morgan You Know Podcast Network. I am your host, Rod Morgan. With me for this particular episode of Balls and Brew, which is, of course, produced by James Jamriska. He's joining us from North Carolina, even though he always can exclusively see in any picture you ever see him in an Indiana Hoosiers red baseball cap, but he lives in North Carolina, and he is Chris King. Chris, hello.
Hello, Internet. Hey, Rod. How's it going? I'm wearing my IU cap right now.
Yeah, there's not very many pictures of you that exist out there in the internet world because you like to keep it that way, but ones that do exist, only in the IU hat. I love that. And joining us...
If I'm out there, I'm representing.
That's right. And joining us to talk a little NBA basketball, a man who has reffed his fair share of youth basketball games, it's our good friend Corey Nance. Corey, hello.
Hello, Nation. How's it going, Rod? Chris?
We are excited to talk about the NBA. We wrapped up and buried baseball and the Cubs last time out with Evan Altman. We are not burying NBA by any means because anyone who's listened to this podcast for an extended period of time knows how much I love the NBA, so it will continue to always probably be around. But we heard Josh Williams last week. We talked a little bit about NFL training camps. We will start getting into college football and NFL football here just around the corner. So let's wrap up basketball one last time. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the NBA Finals, the draft, free agency trades, and what we're thinking about next year. So we'll do all of that on the other side of a break from our producer, Jimmy Jamriska. And I also want to say there's a very special chance that at some point we may be joined by a special guest. I can't promise it, but we might have a mystery special guest at some point. So if we ever seem jarred, it's because the mystery guest popped in out of nowhere and joined us. You'll have to stick around to find out if it happens. All right, so we had an NBA episode where the finals had yet to be wrapped up. I predicted the Milwaukee Bucks were going to win the championship. As Chris will be quick to remind you of here, I predicted they were going to beat the Clippers and not the Suns, so I'm not 100% right there, but I did think the Bucks were going to pull it out. They ultimately pulled it out in 7 games. Chris, what was your first thoughts about the finals?
I was shocked and surprised that the Bucks won, but I'm also happy that you see a small market team succeeding in this type of NBA. I'm not a big Bucks fan. I really didn't think they were going to beat Atlanta, let alone beat Phoenix. I still kind of think Phoenix was the better team, but Giannis took that to another level in the finals.
He most certainly did. Corey, let me ask you this. Do you think what we had were Milwaukee showing us a different way to play basketball, put a team together, or do you think we saw a series of unfortunate events that maybe led to a very solid team that we all love and have seen be pretty solid consistently over the last couple of years, but maybe not a great team winning? What do you think it was?
I think it's probably a combination of both. They use their pieces really well, and then, the stars align and something special happens, and with Giannis being able to dominate like he can, it all set up and they won their championship. I thought it was very cool.
Now, Chris, you're the oldest one on this podcast by far. We point that out all the time. What are we supposed to do with this Giannis performance? I mean, these are Wilt Chamberlain-like numbers in the NBA Finals. I mean, these are more counting numbers, so to speak, than some of the greats have put up. Your Kareems, your Magics, your Larry, your Michael. I mean, what are we to do with this Giannis performance as far as history? Is he now the greatest thing out there, or is this like a once in a supernova of a Finals, and maybe Giannis is still only the third, fourth, maybe 5th best player in the NBA?
I'm leaning more to once and whatever kind of chance you want to put it at. I don't think it's going to be something that he can continue to do every year. Maybe he can prove me wrong, but like with those other players, especially the guys like Jordan and Kareem and Magic and Bird, they were doing it every single year, not just breaking through once and getting it done. And unfortunately, the East has gotten a lot stronger since a few months ago when he won the finals.
It most definitely has. So I want to give Giannis all the respect and love in the world, and I think that guy has continued to show that he gets better and better over his career, and I would tend to agree with you as well that I just don't think we're going to see Giannis dominate the league with those kind of numbers throughout, because certainly he's not going to play 40 minutes a game, and they're not going to give max effort during every night. But I don't
You
know.
also got to remember that in these finals, you had Chris Middleton, a guy that really no one should rely on, have 3 or 4 massive games for him that really helped secure that win. And that's not faith I want to put in Chris Middleton again. Do you?
I mean, I don't know, right? I'd love to give credence to the fact that a guy can improve and a guy can turn the corner and a guy can gain experience, which will then bring about new knowledge for him. But I also understand that, that there's athleticism diminishes every year, no matter what we want to do about it, right? So I get all of that, but I don't know. I would like to think that the Bucks have landed on something here, right? I would like to think that, because if the Bucks haven't landed on something here, then we've got just a team like the Nets who have just 3 superstars all put together who are going to end up being the favorites going into next year. And I'd like to think the Bucks have landed on something new here. But we'll get to the Nets later. Let's kind of go in chronological order here. So the finals wrapped up. The next thing we had in line for that was the NBA draft. Chris, little ways away from the draft now. We've heard all of the different draft nicks who know way more than we chop it up. What are your thoughts about the draft now that we're a little ways away from it?
I'm still a big Cunningham fan. I thought he was by far the best player coming out of college. I know a lot of people are big on Green, and I believe as of this recording, Green kind of outplayed him a little bit tonight in their first preseason game. But I still think Cunningham is the cream of the crop. I think he's going to get plenty of time, plenty of run time, floor time. He's going to be looked at to score, and that's exactly what you want in your Rookie of the Year.
Corey, was there anybody that got drafted to a team that got you overly excited after the draft came off? You were like, oh man, that guy's on that team. That's perfect. I'm excited to see how that plays out.
No, not usually. I think if Jalen Green turns out to be something, Houston is a perfect place for a superstar to be. But, I mean, sometimes you feel bad for good players going to crappy teams. So the NBA draft can make you feel not so good about it sometimes. Like poor Mobley going to nobody wants to go to Cleveland.
That's very true, especially for most of these NBA games played in November, December, January, and February. It's not great here in the upper Midwest in those months, is it, Corey?
Oh, for the Southern California kid, no.
All right, you guys hit on the number 1 and the number 2 picks there, and they kind of raise another question that I'm interested in the draft. And I think what we saw here was a case of Detroit, who's trying to grow, trying to build a culture up, have a couple of good young pieces that they've amassed through trades and free agent signings and Jeremy Grant and a few other picks. So I think what they did was they took the guy who's got the higher floor, right? The bottom of Cade Cunningham is still a serviceable 5th man on your team, maybe even a great 6th man, or if nothing else, at least a complete role player who's going to play 9 to 10 years in the league. So that's his floor, right? But Corey, you hit on it. Jalen Green, I think, has a bit more of the flash where he can be a superstar. He's got that higher ceiling. So Chris, I find it interesting that you first pointed to Cade Cunningham, because you said if you were drafting, you would always go for the high ceiling guy. And I think that's definitely Jalen Green.
I think Green probably does have the higher ceiling, but if you're a team like Detroit and you have that number 1 pick, you got to pick the guy that's going to have the most impact right away. And that's by far, I think, Cunningham. As a general rule, though, if I am drafting and the way that free agency is now and the way you have to pay these guys now, you need to take your risk where it's costing you the least, and that's your draft picks. You get them on cheap contracts for 3 to 5 years, and if they hit big. You'll be able to do an extension with them a little bit earlier even and save even more money long term. You want the guy with the higher ceiling. With a low floor, you're not investing that much money, it's all right. Try it again next year. But when you hit big, it makes all the difference in the world. Look at what Golden State was able to do. They took a guy like Steph Curry, who did not have a really high floor, but he definitely had a high ceiling, and they hit big, and it's won them championships.
How many other high ceiling guys haven't panned out though, right? So I mean, I just think that like you're absolutely right. You know, everything that you said on the positive works out that way, but I think there's the highway's littered with dudes who were high ceilings that didn't work out. You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said for, and I think you hit on a bit of it there, a piece of it with the contracts, right? So Corey, I was interested to see a team like the Brooklyn Nets and a team like the Clippers, who have a bunch of high dollar superstars at the top of their payroll, jump into the draft and spend capital to get rookies, because I feel like they were going for guys who can play for them right away. And I know you and I had talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier, it depends on where your team is at on what you're looking for in these. Like Houston, Detroit, the ceiling is what you're looking at because you're rebuilding. You need some pop. You need, in both cases, they need a star for the fans to rally around and stuff like that. But if with the way all these trades are going and stuff, and the picks being swapped around, you could end up, in the playoffs and still end up with a very nice draft pick. Now, if you're doing something like that, it would make sense to get a guy you can play for super cheap. To me, that is on a low-cost contract, but you know that you're going to get production out of and not have to worry about building them up to be a star and all that stuff.
See, Corey, I'm so with you, and that's why I was interested in what the Golden State Warriors did. And Chris, you brought him up in the example of Steph Curry from a few years back, but I want to talk about him from just this draft. They're the epitome of a team who's got high-dollar players, right? Steph Curry just signed another $200 million contract, becoming the first player in the NBA's history to sign two different $200 million contracts. Shout out to Steph Curry. Draymond Green's making big money. Klay Thompson coming back making big money. They're the epitome of a team who should get some rookies who can play for you right away. And what do? They're basically cashing lottery tickets. Last year with James Wiseman, who still hasn't shown too much. And then this year they go with Kuminga, another project. And then I'm escaping on the other guy's name. Moody, there you go. Yeah, he's a bit of a project as well. So Chris, what do you think Golden State's thinking about there? So you think they're going back to their strategy of just give us the guys who can pan out and be superstars and we'll figure it out from there?
Yeah, and they're doing what I would suggest, taking risk with your draft picks. You got so much money invested and proven players, and you got to keep money invested in those proven players. So you have to take your risk where your contracts are cheapest, and that's draft picks.
I think with Golden State's interesting too because they ushered in kind of a era of basketball where you're shooting threes and all that. But if you don't have the personnel to do that like they do and have had for a few years now, the rest of the league is changing to big guys that could do it all, So they're kind of stuck in the one way of playing, and now they're going to have to adjust when this era of Curry and Klay and Draymond is over.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think what we've all touched on a little bit here is we are no longer in the days where a GM of a team is a former player. Okay, sure, there's a few former players that are GMs of teams and former coaches and things of that nature. But these GMs are all really, really smart guys who play out all of these scenarios. I mean, we're trading pick swaps. We're trading picks 6 years out. We're trading rights to guys who have been stashed in Europe. You know what I mean? We're signing guys on exceptions. Let me buy this guy out and then you sign him to this deal and then we'll make this trade. I mean, these guys can think these things so far out and down the road. And so I like what you said about Golden State trying to cash lottery tickets, Chris, but I actually think they might be up to something else. And we will get to that here in just a minute. Any other draft thoughts, Chris? Anybody else that you want to shout out that you're like, you know what? I pointed out the number one pick, which is completely obvious, but now here's something else that I was a bit intrigued by on draft night.
So I know that we don't get to talk about them too much because they're kind of middling in the East, but we got to talk about the Pacers just a little bit. I was kind of pretty pleased with their draft. They were able to pick up Chris Duarte, who I think is a good player. And then they also were able to get Isaiah Jackson, who the Lakers drafted and then traded to Washington, and then we got. So I think those two players, they may not get a lot of time this year, but I think they're good players, and they'll make us a deeper team in the long run.
Love that you pointed that out because that was an insane 5-team sign and trade where the
Yeah.
Pacers got the rookie and then another team got second round draft picks and then the Wizards got Dinwiddie and the Lakers got Westbrook. I mean, that was an insane trade, and that's what I'm talking about. So let's move on to something that actually happened on draft night, but it technically was a trade, and it sort of kicked off free agency season. And I think, Chris, we got to start here. Russell Westbrook goes from the Wizards, gets traded for the third straight year from the Wizards out to the Lakers. So Russ and Bron together with AD and La La Land. What's Coach Vogel going to do?
Put those three guys out there, throw a couple other people out there, doesn't really matter who, and then let them dominate because that's what they'll be able to do. You have a guy like Westbrook coming in who is an all-NBA talent who can pick up slack on nights when either AD is hurt or LeBron needs a rest. He is a workhorse. I don't think there's anybody that's going to deny how hard he works and how hard and intense he is in games, regular season especially. I think that is by far the best offseason move so far.
Corey, any you want to throw any water on that, or do you tend to think the same way Mr. King does?
I lean the same way. The nice thing is that you can rest LeBron or AD or both, and then you have a veteran team, and then you can roll Westbrook out there to make it all go. And he's going to give you 110%. So you're basically protecting your playoff position with Russell Westbrook at all times.
Ooh, I like that, protecting your playoff position. That's definitely something I think is important to the Lakers because I think a lot of them said to themselves last year, hey, all we got to do is make the playoffs. Then they make it in the play-in tourney, have to play an extra game versus Golden State, then end up going down to the Suns. So I think they definitely want to try to make sure they don't coast too much in the regular season, and there's no way you can do any kind of coasting with Russell Westbrook on your team.
No, he's not going to coast. He doesn't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't have that gear.
But now the other thing that I think is important here is you still got to remember there's THT, right? Taylor Horton-Tucker is still on that team. They got Monk and they got Kendrick Nunn, right? So these are three a little bit younger guys who I think you hit it on the head. These guys are going to be out there running with Russ during a lot of the second team minutes. And then other than that, you're going to be rotating in guys that you absolutely trust in Bazemore, Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza. You know what I mean? So I think the Lakers are going to win a lot of regular season games, and as long as all of these guys are healthy, I think they're going to be on top. So I agree with the Westbrook move being a big move. I'd say, Corey, I'd see if you agree with me on this. The second biggest move, probably Lowry to the Heat, right?
Yeah. Real quick on Westbrook.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
How many of these older guys that they've signed has Westbrook played with already?
That's a good point. Well, he's definitely
Carmelo.
Yeah, he's definitely played with Melo before. I feel like he's probably played with Bazemore. Doesn't it seem like Bazemore was on Oklahoma City at some point, or maybe even Houston?
Wasn't Ariza on Houston and Oklahoma City?
Ariza probably was on Houston that year.
I don't know. It just seems like those names and Russell Westbrook have crossed paths together, so there might be some familiarity there that might help, with the way he plays.
Well, he's been Oklahoma City, Houston, and Washington these last 3 years, so he's there. But I think the other thing, and I forgot to mention this, and this was the main point I wanted to make, is that, sure, Russ has been a whole lot of, for lack of a better term, Russ, right? He's going to want to get his triple-double numbers. He's going to be completely insane, and he's going to shoot completely insane shots and all of the above, right? But that's because Russ was always believing in his heart that he was the best guy on the team. He thought that over Kevin Durant, even though he probably shouldn't have, but he did. But he does not think that about LeBron James. There's not a single guy in this NBA that thinks they're better than LeBron James. He gets that level of respect from all of the other players in the league. So I just think we're going to see a different kind of Russ this year. So if you give me Russ Westbrook, or you say, can I have Dennis Schroeder, or can I have Rajon Rondo, who are the guys who filled the role the last 2 years, give me Russ Westbrook every time. So I think it's that simple.
Yeah, that's a real easy choice to make.
So I think the second biggest move is Lowry to the Heat, right, Corey?
Yeah, I would say that's probably it. They add a veteran leadership, championship, stuff like that, and I think the Heat are going to be real interesting because they could be number one in the East or they could be out of the playoffs. It doesn't. I don't know where they're at exactly just yet.
Well, I think there's an absolute morass in the East that the Heat are going to be part of. I think that you got your Nets clearly at the top. I think the Bucks are clearly going to be right there, and I think Philly is probably still going to be right there. Even with Ben Simmons still on their squad right now, I got to put them at 3, and I definitely think Simmons is going to be gone, and I think Philly's going to be better for it because I believe in Daryl Morey's ability on that. So I think you put the Heat, their best is 4, but I don't know that the Heat are that much better than the Bulls, the Knicks, or even the Celtics. And excuse me there, but Chris, what do you think of that?
I think the Heat have probably built one of the best, deepest backcourts in the East. You have
You're not giving me Oladipo here, are you?
He would be the fourth. You got Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, and then Victor. I mean, that's just a deep, solid, great backcourt.
How much chance do you give of Victor still being something, though, really? Even you biggest Victor guy out there, just as much as me, but how much? Come on, what are the percentages? Like 30% he still got something?
No, I would put it closer to like 65%.
Wow. So a 65% chance he still got something.
Yep.
Corey, what do you think?
No, it can't be 65. They're just adding up too much, and for the type of player that he is, being injured and having nagging injuries and losing your athleticism does not help your game much when you're Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 50-50 shot at bet, Chris. But I love that you're pumped. But again, go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
So I think the Heat are going to be a hard out in the East, and I think it's more likely that they're the 4 or 5 seed than they are not in the playoffs. I think they're definitely in the playoffs, unless they suffer a couple crazy injuries, like Butler goes down or Lowry goes down, then you probably will have some questions. But I mean, I think they're as competitive as the Bulls are right now.
See, I was about to go to the Bulls. Jimmy Butler, congratulations on getting your bag from the Miami Heat for the second time around and being able to shove that in the face of your former team, the Chicago Bulls. But yeah, I'd say the Bulls are probably another big story of free agency, right? The Bulls made the big deal to get Nikola Vucevic from the Magic at the end of the year last year, All-Star center. Then they get Lonzo Ball in a sign and trade. And then they get DeMar DeRozan, which I thought was quite interesting there. But so, Chris, convince me that the Bulls are better than, hey, we went from out of the playoffs to the 6th seed.
Really, I think this is going to rest a whole lot more on Levine than anybody else.
That is not a place I want to be, but go ahead.
But I think he would become a free agent after this upcoming year, right? I think so.
Yes.
So if he doesn't make this team work and make them competitive in the East, then he probably will look at getting traded before the deadline.
Yeah, Corey, what if I told you the Bulls, and Chris, I love that you said that. What if I told you that the Bulls might want to get rid of Levine, and that's why they signed DeMar DeRozan? Would you scoff at that?
No, I mean, that's a smart play if you know that come deadline time, you're not seeing what you want out of him, and you know he's going to want a bunch of money. Well, then you still have 3 good players to have your team built around. So, I mean, I think that's the smartest move they've done, probably.
And they still got a couple of youngsters there, right? Like you still got Kobe White, who could still be a little bit of something for them. You still got Patrick Williams, who I think is going to be in the starting lineup and still can't even buy alcohol legally, I believe. That's how young that guy was when he came into the league. But he looks like he could definitely be something. But I just, for me, I said it. I think you're going to see Nets, Bucks, Philly. And if Philly does something that we're going to talk about in the next segment, then maybe they're even better than that. But then you can't convince me that there's a huge difference between the Heat, the Bulls, or the Knicks at 4, 5, 6, or even the Celtics right there at 7. So then that's 7 seeds locked in. The East is going to be much more of a dogfight this year than it ever has been.
You haven't even mentioned the other team from the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't mentioned the Hawks. I haven't mentioned the Hornets either, who I think continue to get better. And I think the Wizards still want to be good because I'll tell you what the Wizards did. They might have sent out Russell Westbrook, but they brought in like 6 dudes who can all play NBA basketball.
Yeah, I don't think they've hurt themselves. The Wizards, obviously. They didn't have much to hurt, but I think they've helped themselves out, and it could be a very interesting time for Washington fans.
And Chris, you said it there, Atlanta. I can't believe I did leave them out. So tell me, I mean, are they better than the Heat, the Bulls, or the Knicks?
They're as good of, if not better, just for the simple fact that they proved it last year, and their team didn't change all that much, and they did sign Trey to an extension. They got a couple good players in the draft, and Jalen Johnson and this Sharif Cooper guy. They re-signed Solomon Hill, John Collins, Lou Williams.
I like the Collins signing. I kind of thought he might go elsewhere, so I like the Collins signing for them.
And they only lost really. It was Dunn and this other guy, Fernando.
And also DeAndre Hunter was hurt all
That's
last
true.
year, right?
That's
So
a
it's
good
like
call,
getting
Corey.
another guy back there.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
right
see,
now,
that might
I'd put them
have-
at closer to the 4th seed over Chicago.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are probably the 7 seed.
Yeah,
They're
the
probably-
Celtics are going to be. It's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs.
But they could be better than the Knicks because I think we started seeing that maybe Julius Randle was a little flash in the panty last year. No,
Listen. Regular season is what gets you into the playoffs. You can
that's
talk
true.
about
Tibbs is a regular season animal. I can hear him now.
Defense. And you got Derrick Rose playing more like Derrick Rose, right?
Stop.
Oh, you were all over him last year, and
In the role he was
deserved
in
it.
last year, they just gave him 3 years guaranteed paper. That's nuts.
Yeah,
You
but-
had Derrick Rose last year on to prove it.
The last thing you want is to be having to count on Derrick Rose being Derrick Rose.
But you
Exactly.
don't have to have him be more than he was last year.
Well, you better
'Cause now
hope Quickly's
got
even better
Kemba-
than he was last year because you don't got Frankie Smokes around anymore.
But you got Kemba Walker there. That's going to take some pressure off of Rose in the backcourt. They
Who?
re-signed
You just-
Alec
you-
Burks. They re-signed.
Chris, you understand that knees are important to basketball players, right? Because this whole entire podcast, you're just not giving credence whatsoever to these dudes who have sketchy knees. I mean, I can't believe you didn't mention that Porzingis was going to be MVP this year for Dallas.
Oh, I'm not a Porzingis fan. I just think the Knicks got better, and being better keeps them up there competitive just as much as Miami or Chicago.
No, Corey, it sounds like you're with me. I think the Knicks surprised a bunch of people last year in a weird COVID season, and I think that like a couple of guys showed out to get paper, and then they got paper. And listen, the Tibbs thing always goes sour way quicker than we think it's going to, right? So we already saw it go quicker in Minnesota than it went in Chicago. So is it a 1 year and done? I don't know. I just don't really believe in the Knicks. I'm sorry. They still have James Dolan as an owner. And I, as a Cub fan, personally just saw what a crap owner can end up doing to your ball club.
I think you're going to see some regression from some of these teams that played really well last year.
Ooh, okay, I love it. Spicy. Who?
For one, I think it'll be the Suns. You'll see that.
Well, I thought we were in the East. I'm sorry. I thought we were.
Well,
still
no,
in the
I'm
East
saying,
already.
yeah, in the East, but I'm going to throw the Knicks in there too. I think it was something new to them, and it was exciting, and then now you're going to have to prove it, and that's where the difficult part comes in.
I think the 76ers are going to slide this year.
Wow, I was about to say, what chance do we have that the Bucks have a finals hangover? But you go Philly on me, huh? Okay, so you think the Ben Simmons thing gets ugly, and I think we're going to get into that soon.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, that's part of it. I think they will be better if they get rid of him. I think if he stays, it's not going to be comfortable. You still don't know if you're going to have Embiid for a whole season. It's not going good. They did have a couple decent draft picks, I think, but I don't think those guys are necessarily ready to just have to jump right in if something goes south.
All right, I like it. Let's move on to. There were some names, some pretty big names that we've heard about for an extended period of time right now, including Ben Simmons, one out there in Portland, who as soon as they made their exit from the playoffs, it sort of seemed like things were getting tricky out there between Damian Lillard, a.k.a. Dame Time, and the Portland Trail Blazers. And Bradley Beal seemingly has still sort of been in trade talks for almost 2 years. So let's go ahead and come out and put our crystal balls, our magic 8 balls, however you prefer to use balls to look into the future. Do that now and tell me, what ultimately do you think happens for, just pick any one of those or give me a prediction on all 3 of them, whatever you want to do. Chris, you go first.
I think you will see Dame and Simmons on different teams before the trade deadline.
Okay. Do you care to say which teams, or you just want to say they're gone?
If it happens before the season, Simmons, I think, ends up with the Warriors. I mean, that's been talked about
no,
a
did we just
lot.
lose Chris? We may
No.
have. Nope, there he is.
Yeah, okay, so I think that if Simmons gets traded before the season starts, he'll probably go to the Warriors. There's been all kinds of talk about that lately. I don't think Dame gets traded before the season. I think he gets traded before the trade deadline, and it's probably going to be somebody in the East that needs that type of all-star backcourt help, and I don't know who that would be. And maybe that's Philadelphia.
See, you're getting close to what I'm going to say, but we're going to go to Corey first. I'm going to be gracious to our guest. Corey, what do you think is going to happen to any of those guys? One of them, whatever you got.
I don't think Bill's going anywhere. I think he loves Washington. He likes being the man there.
I agree with you. I think he also wants to play this contract out and that he can get huge paper from the Wizards on the next one.
Yep, exactly. And then I say if Simmons and Dame are not on the same, if neither one of them are on the same team, they've been traded for each other.
Ooh, spicy. Okay, that gets some. Here's my prediction. All right, you guys want my prediction? Here's what happens. Beal stays because exactly as Corey said. I don't think he's 100% happy to be a Wizard, but I think he's happy to make all of that paper from the 5-year max that he's going to get after this contract plays itself out. Because I think he will definitely be an all-star again this year, which will then bump up, means he can make more money. And then he'll demand his way out of Washington because as we've seen in the NBA, when you demand your way out, you get what you want. Something else we have seen in the NBA over the years is that Daryl Morey is really good at his job. Something else I hinted at earlier in this podcast is that I think the Golden State Warriors are up to something. Here's what I say happens. It's a 3-way deal between Portland, Golden State, and Philly. What happens is Portland gets Wiggins because they got to get him for salary, but then they get their pick of the Golden State young guys, the Golden State young upside guys that can't actually help Golden State right now. They go to Portland because those are the kind of guys that Portland wants and needs. Philly will then send Portland some draft pick capital. Philly will get Dame, and the Warriors will get Ben Simmons.
Remind me again why the Warriors want Ben Simmons.
The Warriors want Ben Simmons because he can work the ball and move it around the perimeter and be essentially an Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green type and do all of the other things that Curry and Clay and the shooters don't have to do.
And he's okay with this?
Well,
and he can play great defense too, which is something else that the Warriors dynasties have always needed.
Yeah, it makes him a much better defensive team. That's a guy that can guard 1 through 5 almost.
Yeah, but only one at a time.
Yeah, but Draymond Green's another guy that can guard 1 through 4, and that makes it a much better defensive squad compared to...
Yeah, like how switchy are you at that point then, Corey? If you're Curry, Thompson, Simmons, Draymond Green, and then Kevon Looney at certain points, but then Looney goes out and then you bring in some other shooter, and then you got just Green and Simmons down in the big court and another... I mean, come on.
I mean, it sounds great, but, I mean, you're still switching to Clay and Steph having to guard other people, you know what I mean? Like, it's still, they're still out there.
Here's the other thing at play here. Do you know who Ben Simmons' agent is?
Rich Paul.
Bam. Clutch Sports, okay? Rich Paul and Clutch Sports get exactly what they want every time, no questions asked. That dude is a straight gangster, right? Like, we want to joke about LeBron James turning over his team every year, like Michael Corleone taking care of all the family business in one day. Rich Paul's his right-hand man. So Ben Simmons is going to go where Ben Simmons wants to go. And what have we heard recently? The only leak out of Clutch Sports? Ben Simmons is open to the Warriors. What else do we hear out of Philadelphia? Daryl Morey is asking for insane return on Ben Simmons. Do you know what insane return on Ben Simmons would ultimately be? Damian Lillard. Come on, it's perfect. Why wouldn't it happen?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a blockbuster move, and I think it makes all those teams better. Well, maybe not.
It doesn't make Portland better right now, but it helps them out in the long run, right? Because they still might be semi-relevant because you got, your Nurkic and you got some of your other young core, and then you got McCollum still there, right? Because he didn't get anywhere in this deal that I just talked about there, so maybe he can finally step up and be an all-star for him. Then you got Wiggins, who's shown the last couple of years in Golden State that, sure, he's not going to be worthy of being the number 1 overall pick, but he's serviceable. Corey, come on. I think I'm warming you up on this.
No, I mean, it sounds good. The whole Ben Simmons thing is like, where does he go? Where does he fit in?
So you don't think
how much money he's going to
change
make?
Of scenery helps him? You don't think a great guy like Steve Kerr, who's not a real bust-your-ass kind of coach, you don't think guys like Curry and Thompson and the Golden State culture, you don't think a change of scenery can just help Ben Simmons? Because clearly he's talented.
He's definitely not going to be asked to make jump shots.
Well, I mean, what, he shows up there and decides he's the triplet in the Splash Brothers? Just start chucking? Yeah, I mean, it all sounds good. It's just a matter of, is Ben Simmons going to develop into somebody that you're going to want to pay that kind of money to?
Well, he's already on a contract. That's the other thing, right? That I think sort of Golden State finds attractive, right? Is they get to bring him in through the existence of like we're just doing things under the cap and the salary the way they are, and then Ben Simmons is locked in, and so then if somebody else goes, that numbers are, you know what I mean? It's you just kind of move these pieces around the board these days, and so bringing in Simmons with 4 years left on his deal is kind of the perfect thing for Golden State.
Is there that many years left on his deal?
I think so, because I think he just signed the big deal before last season started.
Okay. That would make sense.
So, Chris, come on. Normally you're throwing all the water on me all the time. Give me the reason that this wouldn't go down.
Because
other than what Corey said, that Golden State doesn't want Simmons.
Because it's the NBA, and the stuff that makes sense doesn't always happen.
Yeah, but Harden wanted to go to the Nets, and then ultimately it happened. Anthony Davis wanted to go to the Lakers, and ultimately it happened.
Yep. Now, it all depends if
Carmelo wanted to go to the Knicks. Where did he go?
The picks match up. If Portland wants those guys from Golden State, I mean,
Portland's not going to have a choice if Dame gets out there enough. And we talked free agent
okay,
stuff.
so
Portland did nothing. If you're Dame right now, how are you thinking that Portland got better? What, you got Chauncey Billups, please?
No, you didn't get better. I mean, yeah, they added Cody Zeller. Does that make him better? No.
Listen to you.
You better look at your hat again, sir.
But the biggest question is if for that to work, Dame would also have to want to go to Philly. And yeah, it makes sense, but maybe he doesn't want to go to Philly. Maybe he has another team that he says he wants to go play for. Who knows? I'm just saying that it's the NBA. Deals like that don't happen very often. If something like that were to happen, it would have to happen soon, I think.
Let me ask you guys this. If Philadelphia does swap Simmons for Dame in some sort of trade, does Dame make Philadelphia that much better?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Instantly.
Okay, offensively.
Yeah.
No,
but you guys were just telling me on how much defense Ben Simmons was playing. So is that...
But Philly needs offense, right? Because they're still pretty defensive. Embiid's a good defensive player. You got Matisse Thybulle, a good defensive player. Danny Green's getting a little old in the tooth, but he can still give you 20, 22 good minutes of defense, right? Like 3 or 4 possessions in a row of when you really need to stop.
But you're telling me...
pure scorer.
You're telling me that these guys are playing good defense when they're playing alongside a great defender in Ben Simmons, who's having such an impact that he's going to Golden State because he plays defense.
You could be right.
So you might get more offense, but you might give up more points.
I'm just saying that they need a true scorer, and they don't have a true scorer.
So, Chris, let me ask you this. So, Philly's only losing Simmons, all right? None of the other pieces of Philly are going anywhere, right? You still got your Korkmaz there. You still got your Seth Curry. You still got Embiid, of course. So, they get Lillard. Are they better than the Nets? Are they better than the Bucks?
They are competitive with the Bucks. I don't think they're better than the Nets.
I know it.
At least not in the regular season. I mean,
I know it.
Weird stuff can happen in the playoffs like we saw last year, but like as far as in the regular season, Nets stay healthy, they're going to win more games than everybody else.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And that leads us to our final category. Let's go there. The cold water of the NBA offseason is just that if Kevin Durant doesn't step on the three-point line, the Brooklyn Nets actually beat the Milwaukee Bucks, and then they just roll to the NBA championship, right? That's a little bit of what you hear. So they are the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship next year. That sort of bums me out. I don't know, something about James Harden is unlikable. Something about how prickly Durant has been recently is completely unlikable. We all know my feelings on Kyrie Irving on this podcast. I've made them known very many times. But the Nets are plus 240. These are all according to our guy, the handicapper Josh Williams. He sent me the future odds right now. Chris, I know you'll be interested in this. But the Nets are plus 240. You got the Warriors at plus 900. The Suns plus 1,500. 76ers plus 1,600. Nuggets plus 2,200. Wait a minute. There's the Lakers plus 400. I forgot this. It goes this way. Lakers plus 400. Bucks also plus 900. Clippers plus 16. Jazz. And then it trails off. So there you go. Nets, Lakers, Warriors, Bucks, Suns, Clippers, Sixers, Jazz. Those are your top 8 next year. Chris, what do you think?
Vegas is usually right.
Who's the surprise team that Vegas doesn't see coming?
If there's a surprise team, It would be from the East, and it would be like a New York, Atlanta, Miami, Chicago type team.
Not the Boston Celtics led by your favorite player, Dennis Schroeder.
Definitely not Boston. Definitely
led by the genius, the new best president of basketball operations the NBA's ever seen, Brad Stevens.
Exactly.
New coach of the year, Ime Udoka. Comeback player of the year, Marcus Smart, because he's the starting point guard and averages double-digit assists. Chris, you don't think any of this can happen?
Listen, I saw a highlight tonight of Romeo Langford posterizing
again with
somebody.
the IU.
There we go. He looked at the hat.
But I don't know what he has going on with his hair. He did braids, which I don't have a problem with, but he has some weird thing going on with
You
his
just have
braids.
a problem with anybody who has hair, bald guy. I mean, this is just your anti-hair bias over here.
Maybe, but I'm going to say Dennis Schroeder does not help them be better, and they needed to get better, and that didn't do it.
Corey, we should touch on that real quick before we get out because we argued about it in the pre-show fist fight. Come on, Dennis Schroeder helps the Celtics a little bit, doesn't he?
He could.
All right, let me ask you this.
I don't think that the Dennis Schroeder that the Lakers had last year, I don't think is going to help Celtics team that's going to be kind of looking for their identity and looking for some leadership, maybe even some veteran leadership. And I just don't know if Schroeder's going to fill those roles for them.
Yeah, listen, things can go bad sometimes when you have a German as your leader, all right? History has shown us that many times. But what I would say, okay, is give me a guy every time who's got a huge chip on his shoulder because he thinks that he should have gotten a whole bunch of money and didn't get it and is ready to go out and just give the double bird to every single person who's doubted him. Give me that guy. And I think that that's where Dennis Schroeder's at right now.
Do Europeans feel that way? Do Europeans get chips on their shoulders like that?
I think Germans have been known to get pretty angry throughout history. Again, Chris, back me up here.
But why didn't he do that last year? He knew it was a contract year. Why didn't he go balls out last year? And
he did early on. I think what we're all forgetting here is that COVID sort of tripped up our boy, right? It's kind of the thing in the room we all know is a thing, but we kind of don't want to bring it up because we just don't really know. But like, we don't know how COVID affects one person to another. And he was seriously affected by it at the end of the year, missed the end of the regular season, missed the start of the playoffs, came back and probably wasn't 100%. And I think that that's the bad taste we all have in our mouth. If you look up Schroeder's numbers, Chris, the analytics that you like early in the season last year leading up to the All-Star break, he was playing pretty strong.
Yeah, sometimes you got to take the eye test over the analytics, and my eyes from watching Dennis Schroeder over his career have not
This is so
impressed
rich
me.
out of you. You're so willing to go either way you need to make your argument work. Usually you come on here, Rod, numbers are numbers, not just you saying and then now look at you going the other way to make your point work.
Listen, has Dennis Schroeder played on any team and made that team better?
No, but he's been part of certain teams that can be good.
That's history. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you are bound to repeat them.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. All right. I guess that's the best thing that we can go out on. We were not joined by the special mystery guest, but we were joined by our good friend Corey Nance. Corey, thank you so much for taking some time out, and we'll get you off to bed here soon because you have an earlier wake-up call than the rest of us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Chris, my man, I enjoyed chopping up the NBA. We will put the NBA to bed, and we will start focusing in on football here. Maybe do maybe a fantasy show. Maybe do a college football preview. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in college football right now, and then of course fantasy is always important to us.
Yeah, so we'll figure something out. I got a guy that I think I might have in mind to talk some college football because, as Chris knows, I had to dip out on college football because of my mail carrier career where I work on Saturdays. And interestingly enough, again, I'm doing that once again. So I might have to be checked out on college football, but Chris follows it a little bit. We might have somebody else to help out there. We know Williams always knows anything pigskin, so keep your ears out for him. Also, SummerSlam right around the corner. So me and Jimmy are bound to have a Yeah We Know all about wrestling for you. And I think, Chris, you're going to be involved in this one too as well. There's a Fast and the Furious Universe podcast being cooked up.
Oh, that's fantastic. Live for family, die for family.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We're gonna chop up the greatest action scenes from all 8 movies. We're going to talk about our favorite characters not named Dom Toretto. It's going to be a great podcast, fun for everybody. So stay tuned to this very feed, the Morgan You Know podcast. We like to call it network, but there's us, Balls and Brew, yeah, we know, and the Morgan You Know podcast that started all of it. Keep listening. We appreciate you listening. Chris, you have the final word?
Goodbye, Internet.